only here for the party. Trust me, we just getting started. The sound, the vibe, I feel so alive.
Hello there, my name is Leena Bongale and I'm an information security specialist. Today, I will be discussing a crucial topic, how to protect your APIs in the cloud. But before we dive into that, let me introduce myself. I have a strong background in network security and data analysis, and I have completed my master's in cybersecurity from the University of San Diego. I am thrilled to share my practical as well as theoretical knowledge on this vital subject with you. Understanding and implementing API security is crucial to ensure that your APIs remain secure in the cloud, eliminating any risk of data leakage. APIs are becoming increasingly prevalent and necessary for the functioning of many software systems. They enable different applications to interact with each other and share data. The surge of APIs can be contributed or attributed to the rapid digital transformation over the last few years, with APIs being utilized in cloud services, microservices, and mobile applications. However, with a large number of APIs being deployed across various technology platforms, ensuring their security is becoming more challenging for enterprise security teams. While APIs themselves are not inherently insecure, they do present a significant security risk to organizations, as they can serve as entry points for attackers seeking to exploit vulnerabilities or weaknesses in the system. The information that APIs expose, including critical business logic, user data, authentication credentials, and financial transactions, is often sensitive and valuable to attackers. For instance, functions like login or create account or add to cart and money transfer are frequently targeted by attackers. By exploiting vulnerabilities or weaknesses in these functions, attackers can gain unauthorized access to sensitive information, expose underlying infrastructure and resources, or execute malicious code. This can lead to significant financial and reputational damage to the organization. Therefore, it is imperative to enterprise security teams to take appropriate measures to secure their APIs from potential attackers. Let's take a moment to understand what is an API. API stands for Application Programming Interface. It's a method for software components to communicate with each other through definitions and protocols. APIs are crucial for enabling software applications or services to exchange data and functionality. They dictate the types of requests that can be exchanged between programs, how those requests are made, and what formats are allowed. APIs can be divided into different categories based on their accessibility, usage, and target audience. Private APIs, also known as internal APIs, are created and maintained by companies for their own internal use. They help in communication between different components or services within an organization's infrastructure and are not meant to be used by external developers. Public APIs, on the other hand, are created to provide third-party developers, external software applications, and the general public with access to specific features or data of a service, platform, or application. Partner APIs are a subset of public APIs that are limited to an organization's specific partners, affiliates, customers, or B2B collaborators. They offer controlled access to specific features or data and are typically granted through authentication and authorization. Finally, third-party APIs are created by external organizations or individuals to provide functionality that can be incorporated into other applications. They allow developers to access external services, libraries, or data sources to enhance their own applications and are widely used in software development to save time and effort by leveraging existing services or functionalities. APIs are commonly used in wide range of applications such as payment processing, video conferencing, social media, and smart homes. These APIs follow architectural standards such as REST, SOAP, or GraphQL. Unfortunately, many new APIs are not designed or deployed with security as a top priority. This lack of focus on security can lead to insufficient authentication and authorization measures, which may result in the exposure of sensitive data, including personally identifiable information, that's PII. As the number of APIs being deployed increases, security teams have trouble keeping up with the sheer volume of APIs in the environment, making it difficult to ensure API security. To safeguard APIs from unauthorized access, data breaches, and cyber attacks, organizations need to implement various techniques and practices that fall under API security. APIs also introduce unforeseen risk due to their interdependencies across multi-cloud architectures, expanding the risk surface. APIs are susceptible to vulnerability exploits, abuse from automated threats, denial of service, misconfiguration, and attacks that bypass authentication and authorization controls, making it crucial to adopt a comprehensive security strategy. This strategy should cover various aspects such as authentication, authorization, encryption, and monitoring. The most widely used API architectures are SOAP, REST, and GraphQL, each with unique security concerns that require careful consideration. By their nature, APIs expose critical business logic and sensitive information, such as user data, authentication credentials, and financial transactions, and have increasingly become a target for attackers, particularly the login, create account, add to cart, and money transfer functions. APIs can become entry points for attackers seeking to exploit vulnerabilities or weaknesses or to expose the underlying infrastructure and resources. The OWASP API Security Top 10 list is not just a resource, but a crucial tool for organizations that want to secure their APIs from common threats and vulnerabilities. This list provides a comprehensive overview of the top 10 security risks in APIs today, including injection attacks, broken authentication, and security misconfigurations. By addressing these risks, organizations can ensure the security and reliability of their APIs, protecting sensitive data and maintaining the trust of their customers. This list equips you with the knowledge and understanding needed to fortify your API security strategy, making you feel confident in your ability to protect your digital assets. APIs are vulnerable to various security threats, including injection attacks, man in the middle or MITM, distributed denial of service or DDoS, or broken access control attacks, and mass assignment. If not addressed, these threats can lead to data breaches, financial losses, and reputational damage. Understanding the potential risk and implementing appropriate security measures can help businesses protect their APIs and ensure the safety of their sensitive data. For instance, RESTful APIs require additional security measures such as transport layer security like HTTPS and token-based authentication. Testing for unhandled HTTP methods is crucial, as unsupported methods can create security risk. By being aware of these threats and taking appropriate precautions, Organizations can minimize the likelihood of a successful attack on their APIs and ensure a secure digital environment. Let's take a quick look at the common use cases of API security. API security relies heavily on two critical components: authentication and authorization. Authentication refers to the process of verifying the identity of users or systems accessing an API. This is achieved by confirming that the requester is indeed who they claim to be. Commonly used authentication methods include API keys, usernames and passwords, biometrics, and tokens. Authorization, on the other hand, determines the actions that an authenticated user or system can perform within the API. This involves setting up access control rules, permissions, and roles. Popular authorization models include attribute-based access control, or ABAC as they are popularly known as, and role-based access control, or the RBAC. Organizations can ensure that authenticated clients have the necessary permissions to access specific resources or perform certain actions by implementing proper authorization checks. Granular access controls can limit access to sensitive API endpoints or data, as well as relevant objects and functions. Open authorization, or OAuth protocols, are crucial in strong authentication and authorization practices. OAuth eliminates the need for users to share their login credentials directly with third-party applications. Instead, it grants access controls representing limited and scope permissions, reducing the risk of credential theft and misuse. OAuth enables API providers to define fine-grained access controls through scopes and permissions, ensuring that third-party applications can only access authorized resources and actions, thus significantly reducing the risk of unauthorized access. However, improper implementation of authentication and authorization mechanisms can lead to various types of attacks, including broken object level authorization, or broken authentication, or broken object property level authorization, or even broken function level authorization, and unrestricted access to sensitive business flows. Object level authorization. Broken object level authorization occurs when an application fails to properly enforce access controls at the object or data level, allowing an attacker to manipulate or bypass authorization checks and gain unauthorized access to specific objects or data within an application. Broken authentication mechanisms often allow attackers to gain unauthorized access to user accounts or sensitive data. Broken object property level. Broken object property level authorization occurs when an API fails to properly enforce access controls and authorization checks at the object property level, exposing sensitive object properties to unauthorized users. Broken function level authorization. Broken function level authorization occurs when an API fails to properly enforce authorization checks at the function or operation level, allowing attackers to access unauthorized functionality. Lastly, unrestricted access to sensitive business flows occurs when an attack lacks proper access control or authorization checks, allowing attackers to automate access to sensitive business flows backed by the API. JSON Web Tokens, or JWT, are a widely used open standard methods of securely transferring data between two parties. They enable token-based authentication and authorization, allowing a user or client to verify their identity and authorization to an API server without repeatedly transmitting sensitive credentials such as usernames and passwords with each request. This token-based approach enhances security by minimizing the exposure window for potential attacks such as session hijacking. JWTs are revocable and expire after a specified period, mitigating the risk of token being valid indefinitely. JWT discovery and validation are essential mechanisms for verifying the genuineness of JWTs to prevent unauthorized access or tampering. JWT discovery involves locating and verifying the public keys and certificates used for JWT verification, while JWT validation ensures that the JWT issuer matches the anticipated issuer for the API. This helps confirm that the token comes from a trusted source. APIs incorporate various encryption techniques to ensure the security of data transmitted between clients and servers. These techniques guarantee the confidentiality and integrity of the information being exchanged during the transit. HTTPS or HTTP over Secure Sockets Layer or the SSL or the Transport Layer Security or the TLS is the primary encryption protocol employed for safeguarding API requests and responses. SSL or TLS encrypts data during transmission between the client and server, thwarting attempts by malicious third parties to eavesdrop or tamper with the information. SSL or TLS employs both symmetric and asymmetric encryption methods to protect the confidentiality and integrity of data in transit. Asymmetric encryption establishes a secure session between client and server, while symmetric encryption is deployed to exchange data within the secured session, thereby preventing unauthorized access to the data being shared between the client and the API server. However, implementing end-to-end encryption for east-west traffic, which involves machine-to-machine API calls within a network or between different services or components within an organization's infrastructure, can be challenging. This is due to the generation, distribution, and management of multiple encryption keys required to ensure the end-to-end encryption. The process of ensuring that the correct keys are available at the right time for all communicating components is complex, especially in large-scale environments. Additionally, implementation of end-to-end encryption can increase latency and limit system scalability. Input validation and sanitization are crucial steps in ensuring that data received from external sources such as user inputs or APIs is secure, reliable, and free from malicious content. These steps are essential in preventing injection attacks and other security exploits. Validation rules define what data is considered valid, including data type checks such as numeric, alphabetic, or email format, length constraints, format requirements, and custom business logic. If input validation fails, that is, the data doesn't meet the set criteria, the application rejects the input, preventing it from being processed further. Input sanitization is the process of cleaning or filtering data to remove or neutralize potentially harmful or malicious content. Input validation and sanitization are critical in protecting systems from a range of attacks, particularly injection attacks. Injection attacks occur when attackers insert untrusted or hostile data into command or query languages, or when user-supplied data is not validated, filtered, or sanitized by the application, leading to the execution of the malicious commands. Injection attacks include NoSQL, OS command, LDAP, and SQL injection attacks, such as cross site scripting or XSS, in which attackers inject malicious client side scripts such as JavaScripts into web pages viewed by other users. Injection attacks are malicious techniques in which an attacker injects untrusted input into a program or query to execute remote commands on a system. These attacks come in various forms, including SQL injection, code injection, command injection, and XPath injection. The consequences of an injection attack can be severe, ranging from data loss and theft to complete system compromise. Therefore, businesses must have a comprehensive understanding of the nature of injection attacks and implement appropriate security measures to protect their APIs and sensitive data from such attacks. Rate limiting and throttling mechanisms control the rate at which clients can access and make requests to the API. These mechanisms have been put in place to prevent the API from being abused or overused, to prevent excessive resource consumption, and to protect the API from possible denial of service or the DOS attacks. To ensure the security of their APIs, organizations should follow a set of best practices that include implementing strong authentication and authorization mechanisms, using encryption and data protection, and conducting regular security assessments. By adhering to these best practices, businesses can protect their APIs against potential threats and ensure the safety of their sensitive data. It is also important to integrate API security into the development process and continuously monitor and manage APIs once they are in production. This proactive approach to API security enables organizations to identify and address vulnerabilities throughout the API lifecycle, resulting in a more secure and robust application. The following best practices aim to mitigate the unique vulnerabilities and security risks that APIs present. Secure API design. Designing secure APIs requires the implementation of robust security controls. It is essential to use strong authentication mechanisms to verify the identity of users and systems interacting with the API. Authorization controls should be implemented to enforce access rights and ensure that only authorized entities can perform specific actions. The principle of least privilege should be followed, granting users and systems the minimum permissions required to perform their task. Excessive privileges should be avoided, as they can lead to misuse or exploitation of the API. To protect data transmitted over the network, strong encryption such as SSL, TLS should be used. Additionally, it is crucial to validate and sanitize all input received from clients and other resources to prevent common security vulnerabilities like injection attacks. It is also critical to protect APIs from vulnerability attacks. Regular patch management should be performed to keep all API dependencies, libraries, and frameworks up to date to address the known security weaknesses. To mitigate the risk of DDoS attacks, rate limiting and throttling mechanisms should be implemented to restrict the number of requests that can be made within a specified time frame. Business logic abuse is a significant vulnerability for API security. Attackers may manipulate an API's business logic to gain unauthorized access to specific functionality or resources, or exfiltrate sensitive data. Strong access controls and authorization mechanisms can help ensure that only authorized users can access specific API logic functions. When designing APIs, adhere to the principle of least astonishment. This means that methods and conventions should be chosen that are the least surprising or astonishing to the user or the developer. Users of the API should have a clear understanding of how security features work and what is expected of them. Users are less likely to make mistakes or misunderstand security features when they align with their expectations and establish industry practices. Runtime detection systems utilize machine learning and behavioral analysis to establish a standard API behavior pattern. This enables them to raise alerts whenever any deviation from the pattern is detected. Such anomalies may include unexpected data flows, unusual API request patterns, and unauthorized access attempts. The main goal of runtime detection is to identify and respond to security threats and vulnerabilities in real time. This is in contrast to relying on static security measures implemented during development or deployment. API gateways work as a safeguarding layer in an API ecosystem by offering a centralized point of management, security, and control for API traffic. They act as a layer of management and security that shields the underlying API infrastructure from various common attacks and operational challenges, including enforcing authentication and authorization policies, traffic filtering, rate limiting, and throttling to prevent API abuse. As API gateways capture detailed logs of API traffic and activities, they also provide real-time logging and monitoring capabilities that can be crucial for auditing or investigating incidents. Considering API security is crucial, and the chosen architecture can greatly impact the necessary security measures. The three most commonly used API architectures are SOAP, REST, and GraphQL. And each architecture has its own unique security considerations. For example, SOAP APIs are inherently more secure, while REST APIs require extra security measures to be taken. In contrast, GraphQL or GraphQL APIs require authentication and authorization to ensure that only authorized users can access the data. This makes it important for organizations to have a strong understanding of the security aspects of each API architecture to create and implement appropriate security measures, ensuring the safety of their APIs and sensitive data. SOAP API security. SOAP stands for Simple Object Access Protocol, which is a commonly used API architecture with built-in security features. SOAP APIs use extra security measures including HTTPS, XML digital signatures, and encryption to maintain data integrity and privacy. These security features make SOAP API a secure option for businesses. REST API security. REST APIs require additional security measures, such as placing them behind an API gateway or using encryption and data protection, conducting regular security assessments, and integrating API security into the development process. GraphQL API security. GraphQL is a new API architecture that offers security benefits and challenges. Its customizable requests may make it difficult to manage complex queries, allowing malicious ones. To secure GraphQL APIs, businesses should adopt strategies to handle abusive queries and restrict large ones. Organizations need to test and secure their APIs to protect sensitive data and ensure security. Manual and open source API testing tools can be used to identify security vulnerabilities in APIs. Some examples of open source API testing tools are SOAP UI, Taurus, and Apache JMeter. Combining manual testing methods with open source API testing tools can help organizations effectively tackle potential security vulnerabilities in their APIs. This can help create a secure and robust digital environment. API security testing involves manual testing methods to detect weaknesses. Two of these methods are parameter tampering testing and command injection testing. Parameter tampering testing means changing the parameters sent to the API to reveal any vulnerabilities. This can help identify SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and other injection attacks. Command injection testing involves injecting malicious commands into the API. This method can help identify remote code execution, buffer overflows, and other injection attacks. Organizations can uncover and address potential security issues to keep their APIs secure using these methods. Open source API testing tools provide a cost-effective solution for businesses seeking to test and secure their APIs. These tools include SOAP UI, Taurus, and Apache JMeter. They offer a wide range of features that enable automated testing, data-driven testing, and test coverage reports. By leveraging these open source tools, organizations can effectively identify and address potential security vulnerabilities in their APIs, ensuring a secure and robust digital environment for their operations. The use of open source tools for API testing is a highly recommended approach to maintain a secure and reliable digital infrastructure. These tools offer businesses the ability to optimize their API testing processes while keeping costs down. By implementing automated testing and data-driven testing, businesses can streamline their testing efforts and gain greater confidence in the reliability and security of their APIs. Additionally, test coverage reports provide visibility into the overall effectiveness of testing efforts and identify areas that require further attention. Developing and implementing a comprehensive security strategies for APIs is crucial for businesses that want to safeguard their APIs and sensitive data. A robust strategy involves several best practices such as assessing the current API security, implementing essential controls and protections, using HTTPS, TLS, creating trusted identities, controlling access to services and resources, using tokens, encryptions, and signatures, identifying vulnerabilities using quotas and throttles, and having effective monitoring and logging in place. Incorporating API security measures at every stage of the development process is paramount to ensure the safety of APIs. By implementing authentication, encryption, access control, and API security testing during the development phase, organizations can enhance the quality of their production code and develop more resilient applications that require less maintenance. Furthermore, monitoring APIs after deploying them into production can help to identify and address vulnerabilities throughout their lifecycle, enhancing the overall security of the applications. Thus, it is crucial for organizations to emphasize the importance of API security measures and ensure that they are implemented consistently throughout the development process to mitigate the potential security risks. Monitoring and managing APIs. Maintaining optimal security levels requires continuous monitoring and management of APIs. To achieve this, It's important to regularly evaluate API performance, track its usage, and ensure proper API access and permissions management. By keeping a close eye on API performance and behavior, organizations can detect and address potential problems, ensuring the security and reliability of their APIs. Therefore, effective monitoring and management are essential to keep APIs running smoothly and securely. API security is a constantly changing target, evolving in response to the evolving technological landscape and increasingly advanced cyber threats. Let's look at some of the key trends that could shape the future of API security. The vast processing power of artificial intelligence and machine learning can transform API security in many ways. Machine learning models can detect when API usage deviates from normal patterns, which can trigger alerts or automated responses to prevent security breaches. Artificial intelligence can also identify complex attack patterns and zero-day vulnerabilities that traditional rule-based systems might miss. Artificial intelligence systems adapt to changing threats and can predict potential security threats based on historical data and emerging trends. This proactive approach helps security teams address vulnerabilities before they can be exploited. The zero trust model is a security principle that suggests we should never trust, always verify. Applied to API security, it means that each request to API endpoints and services must be authenticated and authorized. With zero trust, we assume that no entity, whether inside or outside the network, should be trusted by default. Access to resources should only be granted when necessary. Zero Trust implements the principle of least privilege for API access to achieve this. This means granting only the necessary permissions for specific tasks or roles. Access permissions are reviewed and updated regularly depending on changing requirements. Zero Trust enforces continuous verification of devices, users, and application even after granting initial access. Trust levels are reassessed based on behavior and device compliance. Blockchain and decentralized APIs. Blockchain is a technology that makes sure data cannot be changed once it's added to the blockchain. This means that data accessed through APIs cannot be tampered with, making it very difficult for anyone to alter data without being detected. Blockchain can also create tokens for assets, access rights, or credentials. These tokens can be used to manage and control access to APIs, making it easier to manage who has access to what. APIs can use smart contracts to enforce access control policies, ensuring that only authorized users or applications can interact with specific API resources. By decentralizing data and transactions, blockchain reduces the reliance on single points of failure like centralized servers or databases. This makes it harder for attackers to compromise the API security. During the webinar, I discussed important points to help you understand how cyber attackers constantly evolve and what measures you can take to protect your organization against malicious traffic. I explained the fundamental components of API security and their respective roles and provided actionable steps to evaluate and enhance your API security posture. Additionally, I highlighted effective strategies to stay ahead of the curve, including API security solutions to detect and block malicious traffic and protect your organization and sensitive data. by understanding the unique security challenges associated with different API architectures and using the right tools and techniques for testing and securing APIs, you can safeguard your organization's valuable data and secure your digital environment. I hope this webinar was informative to you, and I really thank you for watching this till the end. If you have any questions or comments or want to discuss this topic further, you can reach me on my social media, on my LinkedIn, or on my email ID, which is on the next slide. It is lbongale@sandiego.edu. So until next time, take care and see you. Goodbye.
I'm only here for the party. Trust me, we just getting started. The sound, the vibe, I feel so alive.